Because, like, yes, Bruno Mars 100% is a cultural appropriator. He is racially ambiguous. He is not black at all, and he plays up his racial ambiguity to be able to do what Jameer says, cross genres and go into different places. And you guys are bringing up Michael Jackson. Number one, me personally, like, I don't even think that Michael Jackson now in this day and age will be able to get to the point that he got to previously.
Facts.
And a huge part of that is because people have realized that they prefer their black music and their black culture from a non-black face.
Absolutely.
And you have, so I'm talking, so you can, because I'm talking right now. And in a lot of different ways, and in a lot of different ways, we have artists now that are much more willing to step into quote unquote black genres that were not willing to do it when, like, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to be in black music. Black music was seen a certain type of way. We've reached a point now where hip hop recently surpassed rock and roll as the most listened to genre in the United States. Black American culture has reached a certain point in this time period that it was not at when Michael Jackson was popping. Like, people had to campaign to get Michael Jackson's videos played on MTV.
Oh, MTV.
We are not in that same time period right now, so that's even a false equivalency to even try to bring up Michael Jackson's career and compare that to Bruno Mars. And I also want to say that Bruno Mars is not an original artist in the same way that Michael Jackson was an original artist, in the same way that Prince was an original artist. What Bruno Mars does is he takes pre-existing work and he just completely, word for word, recreates it, extrapolates it. He does not change it. He does not improve upon it. He does not make it better. He's a karaoke singer. He's a wedding singer. He's the person you hire to do Michael Jackson and Prince covers. Yet Bruno Mars has an Album of the Year Grammy and Prince never won an Album of the Year Grammy. So how you gonna say?
Wow.
So how you gonna say people that are originators in the funk genre, that are originators in the R&B, the New Jack Swing? Bobby Brown and New Edition don't have no Album of the Year Grammy. Bruno Mars got that Grammy because white people love him because he's not black, period. The issue is we want our black culture from non-black bodies. And Bruno Mars is like, I'll give it to you.
Now, what you just heard is, I'm trying to get the woman's name. It's Seren Sensi. Says that Bruno Mars is a cultural appropriator. Okay, as you just heard. Okay, and you know, I heard it. I watched it. It was only a few minutes of a minute, 20 seconds of the clip. And a lot of people are up in arms. And let me tell you something. Now, when everybody jumps on the bandwagon, they're sitting here and saying, oh, I don't like Bruno Mars. He's a culture vulture. But at the end of the day, these same people go to clubs, go to parties, play the music in their car, jam into the music. But now all of a sudden somebody says something and says, "Oh well, he's a hater. He takes black culture and recreates it." You know, look, is she lying? No, she's not lying because, you know, as truth be told, a lot of artists comes from non-black people. Our culture wants to be celebrated and wants to be celebrated by non-black people. And I think that's a problem, but I'm not going to sit there and hate Bruno Mars because Bruno Mars hasn't done anything to me. Now, what I would like some artists to do, yeah, if you're going to, you know, like bite off our culture, why don't you be down with the struggle? That's what I've told you before. Don't steal our music. Don't let a Justin Timberlake or another white person come take us on, but don't want to go through the struggle. Don't want to fight to change laws to change some of these problems. They don't want to do that. So I'm not mad at Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is what he is. I don't think he's a karaoke singer. I mean, I'm going to give him a little bit more credit than that. He has won Grammys, you know, to his credit, and he is a good artist. But at the end of the day, you can understand where certain people are coming from. A lot of people, you know, may not agree. Bad people say, you know what, Bruno Mars is okay, but he's a wannabe Michael Jackson, which he does have that Michael Jackson sound a little bit. And then when she brings up New Edition, she has a point about New Edition and Bobby Brown. Let me tell you something. New Edition came out in 1983. They never had an album of the year. Never one album of the year. Bobby Brown never won album of the year. When Bobby Brown broke out of New Edition in '88, he had probably one of the best albums out there, but he never won album of the year. I forgot who won album of the year. New Edition never won album of the year. As a matter of fact, New Edition wasn't even that big. New Edition was never as big. Okay, yeah, are they legends? Yes, they're legends, but they weren't as big. They weren't a biggest group according to mainstream. I mean, they were just from one demographic. They were big from the African American black community. That's where they were big, you know. But once they all broke up, once BBD formed, once Ralph Tresvant formed, once Johnny Gill formed, once Bobby Brown formed, then they became bigger, had more success than they did when as individuals as when they were with a group. Okay, they were big as individuals as they were with New Edition. You know, but they are legends in my own right. And then Michael Jackson, yeah, you had to campaign to get Michael Jackson on MTV. You had to campaign to get him on MTV because at the end of the day, they weren't playing black artists on MTV when they first started. You know, MTV was primarily a rock station, and they weren't playing a lot of black artists. They wasn't playing a lot of funk artists, and people were saying, you know what? If you don't start playing other black artists, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna boycott MTV. I'm not gonna watch MTV no more. And then all of a sudden they started saying, you know, we're gonna play Michael Jackson on there, and that's when MTV blew up. MTV had a Video Music Awards in 1985. If you watch a YouTube video, that's when they started having acts like Whitney Houston and other black acts on there. Okay. Now, let me talk about Bruno Mars. Is this real name is Peter Gene Hernandez. He was born on October 3rd, 1985. So, okay, in Honolulu. So he was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. That's when he was born. Okay. He was born in 1985. Okay. He was raised in a Waikiki neighborhood of Honolulu. His father is half Puerto Rican and half Jewish. He is a descent from Ukraine and Hungary. His mother is Filipino and has some Spanish ancestries. Okay. So he is never black. He is not black. So and those of you want to know, Bruno Mars is not black. Okay. Now, I'm going to bring up his albums. Okay. Bruno Mars' albums in 2010 was Doo-Wops and Hooligans. This was in 2010. Was released on October 4th, 2010. So this is released on October 4th, 2010. Okay. You know, it basically was a case of doo-wops and a lot of other stuff. Basically, had a couple of songs out. It's Better If You Don't Understand. And some other stuff on here. His next album, I'm going through his album list right now, was Unorthodox Jukebox and 24K Magic. Okay, so Bruno Mars isn't new. Bruno Mars has been out since 2010. He has been out in 2010. He's not new. But, okay, been out for a while. Now, I'm going to read some of these tweets that I see on here. And I'm going to read some of them. Some of them. This one comes from Hanny. She says, "This is why I hate Bruno Mars." Seren Sensi says it all. What did Bruno Mars do to you? Bruno Mars ain't do nothing to you. Okay. You got one from Shantae. Shantae says, yeah, she makes a valid point about appropriation of blackness and how it is now lucrative rather than taboo. Bruno Mars is an example, is an arc one because he is paid homage, but that doesn't discredit that. Discredit that he can still benefit from ambiguity. Okay. Another one. This is from Sean Kent. I just want to be practical here. Are people saying that Bruno Mars shouldn't sing, or that when he sings, he needs to somehow whiten that S up and sound more like Rod Stewart? I'm dead serious. What type of music is this man allowed to do? He can do any music he wants to do. I mean, I agree with that. You know, a lot of people say that about a lot of artists. You have to sing a certain way. People are not satisfied here. Okay, then you have Charlie Wilson. Charlie Wilson says something that says Bruno Mars is a talented, pure, and it's a genuine talent, pure and simple. In fact, he is one of the best we had the privilege to enjoy in years and is already destined to be one of the greats. He is a cut from the same cloth as myself and many other artists before him who work extremely hard on their craft. Our main hope is to, in the end, is to entertain and deliver music that creates moments and feelings that fans will cherish forever. For the current haters, I say this: Bruno Mars' album helped bring back that classic New Jack R&B sound to the masses when it was left for dead years ago. And hard for artists to get that sound back on the mainstream radar. Bruno's songs on this album are original and no different from any other artist pulling inspiration genres before him. The sound from the late 80s and early 90s hasn't been present in music until Bruno Mars, and he did a damn great job bringing it back. Kudos to you, Bruno, for giving us 24 Karat album and reintroducing the sound from one of the best music areas I had the privilege of being a part of as well. So this is for what Charlie Wilson had to say. Okay. And then the guy says, keep making that funky ish. Do you always? The Ninth Wonder, whatever it is, says, I do agree with the sentiment of mainstream only accepts black sounds that, such as 24 carats, and from certain boxes in some ways. Maybe, but Donald Glover made Awaken My Love, which is 1970s Pimp Black, which also made the Album of the Year category. Okay, I'm going to read some more tweets here. So, is it Bruno's Mars' fault that he was influenced by Babyface, Teddy Riley, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis around the same time? From a hip hop side, I was influenced by DJ Premier, Pete Rock, the Beat Miners, and this is socializing studies on influence and exposures. This is some of the tweets. Okay, now Finesse is a early 1990s R&B song because it has a New Jack Swing flavor to it. I mean, he did in Living Colors. It was paying homage to a living color. Okay, so he, like I said, New Jack Swing doesn't get the credit that it deserves to get, because you have a lot of artists, that had their careers from New Jack. You have Bobby Brown, you had Johnny Gill, you had Whitney Houston. Yes, she didn't. Her album in 1990 was New Jack oriented. Michael Jackson, he was part of the New Jack Swing era. New Belle Biv DeVoe, Johnny Gill, the Whispers at one point had a Babyface, Janet Jackson. A lot of artists benefited. Taylor Dane, Mariah Carey, she was part of that New Jack Swing. So a lot of people benefited from the New Jack Swing era, and all he's doing is paying homage to him. Yeah, is he appropriate? Yes, he's appropriate. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. But what do you want him to do? We don't see no black artists recreating stuff like this. You know, I would love a black artist to say, you know what, I'm going to bring back true R&B. Now, to their credit, Johnny Gill has brought real music back. A lot of After Seven has came back, and a lot of other artists have come back. But they need to be pushed more out there as they are before, because what's being pushed out there now is a lot of hip hop stuff being pushed out there. Not that I hit there hate hip hop, because I don't hate hip hop. Some of those hip hop songs out there today are good. You know, some of the stuff I can't understand what they're saying now. I'm trying to figure this stuff out, because it wasn't hip hop like it was when Pac was around, Biggie, early DMX, early Jay-Z, early Myth Bleak, a lot of other artists out there. The Game, they're not out there doing what they're doing like they did back in the day. So now the R&B, the hip hop is all watered down. And to me, we have to go out. We, as a responsibility, we need to start promoting our artists. We need to start having our own media outlets so we can promote these artists, like when BET did back in the day. We need to promote these artists more, and so we can get back to that real music that people grew up and listened to and like. And Bruno Mars, to his credit, he's brought early 90s music back. Well, he can't bring the 90s back, but he's bringing that same style back. Tell me what you think. Leave comments and like, subscribe for more YouTube videos.